everyone, I'm Catherine, and today I'm going to be showing my Glowforge Pro setup and giving an initial review of how I feel about the Glowforge after having it for the past couple weeks. I set my Glowforge up in my studio space. In this space I have my Dremel laser cutter over there, I have all my materials, and I also had this great IKEA table. This table I originally had my Dremel set up on in a different room before I moved it and drilled the hole and got everything set up. So I knew that the table was sturdy enough, and it's actually the perfect size for the Glowforge too. On the table I have the Glowforge itself. Underneath the table I have all of the materials, all of my acrylics and woods, and the Glowforge specific materials that came in the package. Right behind I have the ventilation unit, and that is situated so it has the shortest amount of distance between the tube going from the Glowforge into the ventilation box. So setup wise it is pretty simple. It only needs a very simple plug to plug into as well, and it can be in the middle of my studio. It doesn't have to be by a window, so that's awesome. It's been fun trying out the Glowforge for the past couple weeks. It is very different in some ways from my Dremel laser cutter, and similar in others. So let's talk a little bit about the overall machine itself and how I feel about it. Review-wise for the Glowforge Pro, it is a solid entry-level hobbyist laser cutter. I have experience with a range of different laser cutters, Epilogue and Universal on the more professional side, and then my current laser cutter that I own is a Dremel Digilab 40-watt laser. The Glowforge is the same kind of entry level as that Dremel. It's a pretty expensive machine, but it is designed and set up in a way to help beginners with laser cutters really be able to jump in and use it well. So Glowforge overall has easy setup, really great software. I love the software for this machine. It makes it easy to set up your files and specify what parts should be what settings, really straightforward settings and everything. I'm going to have a separate video about my top 5 things about the Glowforge and my top 5 things that I don't like about the Glowforge. So I'll go into more detail about the software and about other aspects of it in those videos. But keeping it at a higher level, this machine is great for people entering the laser field. So if you've worked with Cricut or Cameo or other paper and vinyl cutters, this is a great way to step into laser cutting. It's very easy setup. They have great documentation online, and they also have a very robust community. And that's one aspect that Glowforge really emphasized and built, was that community, so that the Glowforge owners can help each other figure out issues and problems, share files, and really build a community that can support each other in the laser cutting field. Dremel didn't have that, and I think that's part of the reason why it got discontinued. It didn't have that additional community support layer. So Glowforge is going to be great, like I said, for entry-level hobbyists. However, on the flip side, there's a lot of aspects about the Glowforge that I was a little disappointed in and don't really fit my personal needs for a laser cutter. The first aspect is that this is a very closed system. That is great for newcomers because it allows you to stay within the system and really be supported, and it makes it hard to mess it up. For more of a power user or someone who's used laser cutters before, a closed system means it's more constrained and you don't have as much control. So you're giving up that control to have it be easy. For me, I have enough experience with laser cutters that I'd like to be able to tweak stuff. For example, I like doing my own focusing, whereas this machine only allows you to do autofocusing. And like I said, I'll go into more detail for that in my least favorite aspects of Glowforge video, so I can explain that a little bit better. But this machine, it's packaged in a way so that you can use it immediately. And the other downside about that closed system is that it is heavily reliant upon cloud computing. So this machine, you'll notice it does not have an interface. It only has one big button on top of it. And that's because you have to use the software to send your file up into the cloud to process your file. And then the cloud processing server sends that file down to your laser cutter. So you're not actually directly communicating with your laser cutter. You always have to go through that cloud server in order to connect to it. And you have to have Wi-Fi to use that software. That limits the usability of this machine, for me personally. It might not for you. But for me, what's nice about being able to directly connect is that I don't have to wait on anything. I don't have to process anything. I am setting up my file in a way that I know that works, and I send it directly to a laser cutter, and it cuts the lines that I tell it to. So it feels like an unnecessary step to have to go to a cloud processing location in order to send a file to a laser cutter. It's a big bummer. And it also puts in place like a couple roadblocks. So in the future, they don't do this right now, but Glowforge could choose to charge you for every file that you send through its cloud processing, because it's a closed system and they're allowed to do that. Whereas if you really want a tool that you can use and hack and do what you want to with it, that's where you might want a different hobbyist laser cutter or a professional level laser cutter. The other kind of infuriating part about Glowforge is that it does not provide settings for common materials. It only provides settings for their fancy materials that they sell. And at first I thought it was really cool to have the QR code. It knows exactly what the material is. It sets the settings for you. But what that really means is that it's only going to give you the settings for something that has a QR code on it, which they sell. And it's very expensive materials, which is a huge bummer because laser cutters can cut almost any paper-based materials. It can etch on lots of other things. And without giving some baseline settings, it really leaves it up to the community and to the individual laser cutter owner to play around with all of those materials to kind of figure things out. Luckily, with the community that's in place, you can get to a lot of those settings. But if you've seen some of my other videos where I make a material template that shows the different etching depths, I'm gonna have to do that for Glowforge as well, and they don't give me anything to start with, so I'm just gonna like blanket make my own material cards. And that'll help me out, because as a more pro level user, I do source my materials at other places because it's a lot less expensive. And when you're running a business and when you're selling your laser cut goods, you want to make sure that the materials you're using are cost efficient so that you can actually like run your business and make money. So overall, like I said, this is a beautiful, great working laser cutter. I think it is a good machine for people who want to get into laser cutting, to learn about it, try it out, use this for as long as you need to. And you can even start a company with this laser cutter if you want to. However, if you have used some laser cutters before, if you're looking for something that's a little bit more of an open system instead of such a locked down system, I would recommend taking a look at the full spectrum laser cutters. That's the same company and base model that the Dremel was based on. And it has the ability to directly connect to it. You don't need Wi-Fi. Anyway, take a look at that one. Eventually one day when I get my hands on that, I'll do a review of that one too. If you have used laser cutters for a while, you've built a business, and you can afford an investment, that's where I would still recommend Epilog. Epilog has some smaller laser cutters. They are expensive, but you're getting a machine that's not going to break. It's a bit more open, it's more flexible, and it is built to last. It's going to last you forever. All you would have to switch out is the laser tube. or universal, which I haven't looked at their smaller laser cutters in a while. I've only used the larger ones when I was in architecture and building models and stuff. So those two are definitely pro level expensive. But there's a huge range of laser cutters that are coming out. So to be honest, I'm glad I got to try the Glowforge. I would not buy this for myself for my next laser cutter, but I hope that the information I've given you can help you decide for yourself if this is the laser cutter that you want. Because just because it doesn't fit my needs doesn't mean it's not going to fit yours. There's tons of people that love their Glowforge. So definitely check out some of those other videos to get a balanced view. And let me know if you have any specific questions or specific files or types of things you want me to try with this Glowforge before it moves to my office. So my company bought this laser cutter to go in our design studio, and it'll move in there once it opens in a couple months. So I'm really glad I got to try this out. I think it'll be great for the design studio because it is contained. It makes it hard to break and hurt. And that's really helpful for that studio space when I start teaching new people how to use the laser cutter. But for me personally, I'm gonna stick with the laser cutter I have, and then eventually kind of graduate into that epilogue area when I need something bigger. So thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I'm excited to continue talking about laser cutters with y'all. Thanks.